a video series of my project. So I feel like this is appropriate because I get the chance to teach others about what I've researched, and it also gives the opportunity to open people to a new potential career if they would like to. So the thesis statement I came up with is if we didn't have something like the cameras, then we wouldn't be able to look back on important treasures in our lives, the history of important events, and even pop culture from today. So overall, the research has taught me that the camera is an important part of the people's lives because now they can use it to document anything that they want to remember. Also, the fact is, without it, we wouldn't have had learned about the importance of tragic events and even great ones as well. So, moving on to why is this significant? Why I chose this. So, first off, is without cameras, all newspapers and documents would only be written and no visuals would be on them. If we had no pictures on newspapers, then it would kind of be hard for the public back then to understand what really happened during the war. And to me, pictures add sentimental values to the events, like the Great Depression or even World War II. If it was just words and stories, I don't think it would add that much emotion to the people today, just because people would have harder time imagining what really happened back then. And I just think people would find it not really interesting, just having to read anything and not being able to see an actual picture of like soldiers in a formation. And like now that we have cameras and like pictures and videos, it gives schools further like understanding, aiding us in communications of events and stories. Next part of why this is important is because it helps us to document important events in time. And also our memories doesn't last very long. So nowadays when you do something fun afterwards, you would want to take a picture or video to look back on. But without it, you would have to kind of remember every single detail. And as you age, you go through life having those fun moments, sad moments, or even stressful moments. But sadly, a side effect of aging is that you cannot keep your memories forever. But when you hang out with your friends, you may have those conversations about back in the day of doing that fun activity or something. But those would be rare. But if we didn't have cameras, it'd be kind of too much to handle. So, because we have too much going on in our lives that it would just be hard to just keep those good memories in our brain. So, luckily now we can just pull it up on our phones or computer to look back on special occasions. So that's kind of the significance of why I chose this. Now moving on to the data about what I found out while researching um, on how cameras are kind of slowly disappearing and the rise of smartphone cameras are taking over the photography ways. So on the left here, you can see these are stats from August 2014, that during that time, uh, smartphones and mobile phones were the highest at 81%. People were using that because it was a new technology at the time. And then next was the digital camera at 55%, and then the tablet at 25, and DSLRs, which was surprising to me, was that at 24%. And then on the right, you see the smartphones will wipe out the 40 years of camera industry growth that once in 1950s, it started rising because it was a new thing at the time. And as you can see, it was rising and then started declining as soon as the phones started getting into people's hands. And I think it will continue to get higher as smartphones continue adding more features. Like it'll almost be to the point where it's like a normal Canon or Nikon cameras. And the only time you'll hear people saying like they want a film camera is either if they want to be a photographer or a videographer. So they would have to invest some money into a digital camera and lens. So it was pretty interesting to find those details and data on that. Next is my target audience on who I want to reach with this project in mind. So I decided to choose 13 to 17-year-old students. The reason I think this would be a good audience is because hopefully they have a passion of sorts and it's something useful for them to learn about. And it gives them a sense of a different type of history lessons. So now, again, going back to the significance of to the members of discipline and or community. So I see this as a problem where nowadays our communities just seeing the camera as a way of getting popular or wanting to remember a special moment, but people really don't understand of how it came to be. So by making this video series that gives off the history of who started it out and how it came to be on our phones, hopefully gives these students the importance of the camera, that it's not just a device to be used every day, but it's a handy tool for people to learn from later on in life. So how I'm going to do that, I have 3 processes or phases that I'm going to be doing: a pre-phase or preparation phase, a production phase, and a post phase. So how I'll start my preparation phase is I'm going to be talking to a few people about my capstone idea. I've been doing that at my job, talking to the principal because I teach at a school, or I'm an after-school leader at a school. So I asked them if it was all right to share my video series with the students, mostly the high school, like the secondary, that's what they call it. And both have said yes. And I told them I would keep them in the loop of when I'm going to be giving them my series and even looking at my series when I'm done. And then I'm going to be talking to a few more teachers later because they don't end till the ending of May. So I'm going to talk to more teachers. So hopefully I can get more feedback in my post phase. Next is I'm going to do a little bit more research after this about on each person I want to talk, like in each video series episode I want to make that had a handle on making the cameras. Trying to make this a history lesson. So hopefully it gives the students appreciation to the people who made a device that we can use to capture everyday life. And then after all the research is done, I will start to plan out the videos so that the videos have a nice flow going from one person to the next. And then also will plan on when I'm going to film them during the summer break. Next is my production phase, and that is my first step is going to be filming my series after I have chosen the dates on when I want to film. And then after all that filming is done, I will edit them to add in all the points I've made, pictures I've pointed out, and then I'm going to be showing it to my family and friends, especially like my dad. He's a photographer and videographer, so I can get some feedback from him and even some of my video friends out there. So I will be making feedback on that, or getting feedback from them, and then change anything to make it sound more interesting for the students. After that, I will make a questionnaire for the students just to get, like I said, feedback after they have watched the entire series. And then the last phase is my post phase. So that is where I will have finished all the changes and I will give them to the principal of the school to look over, get his feedback on it, get their feedback to look over, and hopefully they'll have had a list on who I can show it to. And then the students will be watching all the videos in 1 week, and then the teachers will give the students the Google form with all the questions on the video series itself after they have watched the entire series. And then once they're all submitted, I will make a great graph based on the data and share that information with you on what it looks like. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my proposal.